Hi, this is Neil. Welcome to Article Reading for Juniors. Today's article is about the gods of Egypt. Now, it's not talking about Egypt today, but about ancient Egypt, back when the pharaohs were the kings. The first question we'll look at is number 3, so scroll down to that. It says, Nopret was. So, very easy. What or who was Nopret? Let's go to line 10. The god Nopret, for example, represented the importance of grain to the ancient Egyptians. So the answer is going to be something like, Nopret is the god of grain. Pretty easy, right? Let's look at our answer choices. A famous pharaoh. It says that Nopret is a god, not a pharaoh. Pharaoh, remember, like I just said, was a king or queen. There were a couple of queen pharaohs. But A is not your answer in any case. What about B? An ancient Egyptian deity. Now, do you know that word deity? It means a god. So if you're looking for something that's like the Egyptian god of grain, and the answer choice says an ancient Egyptian deity or god, then you'd probably click it. Now we're going to look at the other two just to be sure. An artist who created many beautiful headdresses. No, it says that Nopret wears a headdress, not that he made them. So get rid of that. And the last one, the first human to plant and harvest wheat. Now wheat is a grain, but it says that Nopret is a god, not a human. So get rid of D too. And you can move on. We're going to go to number 5 next. It says, which of the following is a difference between believers in Nut and believers in Horus? To find this, you need to go down to line 16 at least, so these two paragraphs right here. It tells us about Horus, who was one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt, how he had a sparrow's head and a human's face, and how his right eye was the sun god Ra, and his left eye was the moon. Then it tells us about Nut, who was different from Horus. It says many Egyptians didn't believe in Horus, actually. And so this was a goddess who sort of arced in the sky overhead, and her body had stars all over it. And she was married to the earth god, and she had a son who was the sun god, Ra. Now, the answer choices, we're going to go through each one and evaluate the first part, and if that's okay, we'll look at the second part too. A. Believers in Nut also believed in the sun god Ra. That's true, because Ra was her son, and Horus, Ra was his eye. So the first part's good. While believers in Horus did not. No, because Horus believers did believe in the sun god Ra. It says so right there on line 25. Move on to B. We know it's not A. Believers in Nut believed the sky gave birth to the sun. Is that true? Let's see, her husband, Nut's husband, was the earth god, and their son was Ra, so she did give birth to Ra, while believers in Horus did not. It says nothing about Horus giving birth to his own right eye here, so we can say B's probably right, because the Nut believers thought that the sky had a son whose name was Ra, the sun god. Believers in Horus thought that the sky had his right eye as the sun god Ra. So B is probably your answer. Let's look at C. Believers in Nut did not believe in the sun god Ra. Is that true? Well, it says that believers in Nut thought that Ra was her son, so it's not right. Can't be right. And what about D? Believers in Nut, unlike believers in Horus, thought that all gods were fables. Nowhere here does it say that people who believe in Nut think that gods are fables or just stories that are designed to teach you a lesson. So get rid of D. That one is completely wrong. It's not in the text at all. You chose B, you got it right. Now let's move on to number 8 for our last question. According to the final paragraph, how did the ancient Egyptians treat the people living in the lands they conquered? So let's go down to that last paragraph. It says, start reading the sentence before. The Egyptian pharaohs also adopted some of the gods from the lands they conquered. The pharaohs gave these deities Egyptian names and added them to the Egyptian pantheon, just as they assimilated the people they conquered. So let's look at those two sentences. It says they adopted some of the gods from the lands they conquered, which means the Egyptians started using the gods from other lands, started worshiping them. So how did they do that? It says the pharaohs gave these deities, and remember, deity is a word for a god or goddess. So they gave these deities Egyptian names and added them to the Egyptian pantheon, which is kind of like the official list of gods that you're allowed to worship. So one answer that could be possible is something like they took their gods or they adopted their gods, the people from the foreign lands. Now, what does this say though? Just as. Now, just as means in the same way. So this last sentence says they adopted the deities in the same way that they adopted the people they conquered. So assimilate must mean adopted or to make part of something. So what you're seeing here is the Egyptians made people in lands they conquered into Egyptians, just like they made their gods into Egyptian gods. Look for that in the answer. Did they destroy all of their gods? No. The Egyptians did not do that. They adopted them. Does it say they killed all of the people in the lands they conquered? No, it says they assimilated them, just like they assimilated the gods. So get rid of B too. C, the Egyptians made them into Egyptian citizens. That sounds like your answer, because they assimilated them. They made them part of Egypt. And the last line, the Egyptians mistreated them. There's nothing that says they mistreated them. So get rid of D too. And there you go. If you have any more questions, you can always click on the forum link down here. And I hope you enjoyed the article. We'll be talking about another one tomorrow, and good luck with it. Have a good night.